I watched as she held his hand, smiling brightly, promising him the world. But something didn't feel right. He always seemed to need her more than she needed him, like a little bird that couldn't fly without its mother. I noticed how he looked. At me when she wasn't around, his eyes searching for help, a hint of worry behind his charming smile. It felt like I was holding him up, like a crutch, while they played their love story. It made me wonder, could their love really be real if he couldn't stand on his own? I started to feel uneasy, thinking about what would happen if one day she decided to let go. Would he crumble? When I first met James, it felt like everything clicked. The moment our eyes met, a spark shot through me. My heart raced and I couldn't help but smile. We started talking, and it was like we'd known each other forever. He was charming and confident, and I was hooked. I thought, this could be the start of something amazing. With every laugh, it felt like we were building something special. I could picture us traveling the world, making memories that would last. The way he looked at me made me feel like I was the only one that mattered. But just as quickly as the excitement built, a little voice in my head started to whisper doubts. Am I moving too fast? I wondered. I wanted to hold on to the magic, but I also worried it might just be a dream. As days went by, that thrill mixed with a growing anxiety. I sensed something off behind his smile. It was like he was hiding a piece of himself, and I struggled to trust him. Are you okay? I asked one day, noticing his distant look. Yeah, just thinking, he replied. But his eyes told another story. I wanted to believe in us, but fear crept in. Each happy moment felt shadowed by uncertainty. I worried I was walking into a trap I couldn't escape. The joy we shared was tainted by this nagging feeling that something wasn't right. Then, one evening, everything changed. James invited me to a party, and I excitedly agreed. But when I arrived, I saw him with another girl, laughing and whispering. My heart sank. James, I shouted, pushing through the crowd. He turned, surprise in his eyes. Hey, I didn't see you come in, he said, but his smile felt forced. Who is she? I demanded, my voice shaking. It's nothing, he brushed off, but I could see the lie in his eyes. In that moment, the spark we'd felt dim. My heart raced, but this time it was out of fear. I didn't want to lose him, but I could feel the trust slipping away. Is this what we are? I asked, hurt and angry. James stepped closer, but all I could see was the distance growing between us. Let's talk about this, he said, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to listen anymore. As I walked away, my mind was racing. Was I just another game to him? A pawn in his twisted world? I thought about the beautiful future I'd imagined, now shattered. The thrill of our connection was replaced by a heavy ache. I had to decide. Could I trust him again? Or was this the beginning of a heartbreak I couldn't mend? The darkness loomed, and I knew I'd to be careful before diving deeper into a love that felt more toxic than magical. The air buzzed with excitement as James and I made magical memories together. We laughed, explored new places, and shared secrets under the stars. I still remember the first time he took my hand. It felt like a promise. Those moments seemed real, and I thought I could trust him completely. We shared our dreams and fears, and I believed our bond was unbreakable. But soon, I noticed something off. James started to pull away when I needed him the most. He'd joke with friends while I sat alone, feeling his absence like a heavy weight. Whenever I reached out, he'd offer excuses that chipped away at my heart. I wanted to believe in our love, but the cracks were getting bigger. I began to question everything. Those magical moments felt fake, like a mirage that shimmered but never truly existed. I clung to fading memories, wondering if they'd ever come back. I wanted him to be my rock, but instead, I felt like I was holding him up. My heart ached as I realized the love I cherished was turning into a burden. He couldn't stand on his own, and I was losing myself trying to support him. One night I confronted him. James, why are you pulling away? I need you here. He shrugged, a careless grin on his face. I'm busy with friends. You'll be fine. His words cut deep. I felt betrayed. I thought we were a team. It feels like you don't care. He looked away, his laughter echoing in my mind like a haunting melody. The magic was fading fast. I felt trapped in a cycle of love and loneliness, each moment of joy shadowed by his indifference. I knew it was time to make a choice. Would I keep losing myself in a relationship that felt more toxic by the day? Or would I finally break free? I used to think forever meant something special with James, but that idea started to break apart. His sweet words made me dream about our future, but doubts crept in. When he disappeared for hours, it felt like the rope holding us together was unraveling. I needed trust between us, but it slipped away like sand through my fingers. I decided I'd to draw the line. "James, we need to talk," I said, my heart pounding. "Love is more than just promises. It's about respect and honesty." I took a deep breath, ready to face the truth. "Why don't you include me in your life?" He shrugged. "You're overthinking things, Lily." His words hit me hard. I wanted him to comfort me, but instead, I felt crushed. Did my feelings even matter? The forever he promised felt like a cruel trick. Fighting for our love felt like climbing a steep mountain, and doubts began to sneak in like shadows. I wanted to trust James and believe his promises, but things felt different. Was I really the one he wanted? Did he even care about how I felt? Every time he left to hang out with his friends, my heart dropped, and worry washed over me like a wave. It felt like I was stuck in a storm of my own thoughts, torn between love and fear. I knew I'd to toughen up to get through this mess. I started to dig into my feelings, trying to understand what was really going on. It was hard, but I'd to face the truth. Something felt wrong. Why did I feel so lonely when he was right there? My friends were more supportive than he was, and that hurt. Each doubt chipped away at my confidence. I wanted a love that lifted me up, not one that made me question my worth. I felt lost, like I was disappearing in this relationship. Was I just a safety net for him? Something he leaned on when things got tough? I started to fear I was fighting for a love that wasn't even real. Each day, my doubts grew louder, echoing in the quiet between us. One day, I confronted him. "James, do you even care?" I asked, my voice shaking. He shrugged. "I hang out with my friends." "What's the big deal?" I felt a rush of anger. "The big deal is I feel alone. You're supposed to be my partner." He rolled his eyes, and it stung. "You need to chill. I'm just having fun." How can you tell when love starts to turn dark? It begins with sneaky changes. James often did this to me. Whenever I shared my feelings, he'd laugh it off, saying I was overreacting. I'd walk away feeling drained. I started to wonder, am I being too dramatic? Or is he just trying to control how I feel? James always turned things around on me, saying I was the problem. It felt like I was responsible for everything. Isolation is another trick. He'd whisper that I shouldn't hang out with friends, saying I should focus on us. I felt my world getting smaller, and it frightened me. James would twist stories to make himself look hurt, leaving me guilty for wanting to share my needs. These signs may seem small, but they pile up, creating a toxic mess. Why do you always have to make everything about you? I finally shouted one night, "I'm just trying to help you see the truth." He shot back, his eyes narrowing. My heart pounded. I realized this wasn't love. It was a game. I had to break free. As I sat in my dim room, the clock ticked loudly, like a drum beating my anxiety. Each tick reminded me of how much I was waiting for James. He was like a wild card, unpredictable and confusing. I tried to keep busy, checking my phone over and over, hoping for a message that never came. My heart felt heavy, and I could feel my strength fading away. Why can't he just text me? I muttered under my breath. I wanted to trust him again, but how could I rebuild trust when everything felt broken? I kept thinking about the lines we'd crossed. Had I let him get too close? My heart hurt from the betrayal, and I needed answers fast. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. I have to talk to him, I decided, but every time I opened my mouth, my words got stuck. What if I found out something worse? What if he doesn't care? I shivered at the thought. I wanted to scream, to ask him why he was making me wait, but fear held me back. Time crawled by, feeling like quicksand. I was sinking deeper into doubt and despair. I had to think about my worth. Was I going to keep waiting for someone who might never show up? I deserve better than this, I said firmly, my heart racing. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. My heart leaped. Was it him? I grabbed it, but it was just a notification. Disappointment washed over me, and I slammed the phone down. I needed to take charge. No more waiting, I declared. It's time to stand up for myself. The distance between James and me was getting bigger, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. Every day he talked less and less. I felt like I was chasing him, but it was like he was running away. I could see the walls going up between us, and it scared me. One night I finally snapped. "James, what's going on?" I asked, heart pounding. He shrugged, acting like it was no big deal. "You're overreacting," he said, his voice cold as ice. My heart sank. How could he act like I wasn't even there? I was laying it all out, and he just didn't care. Lying in bed that night, I thought about the fun times we had. The laughter, the promises. Did they ever mean anything? I felt alone in this fight. His emotional distance was heavy, like a giant rock, on my chest. I needed answers, not excuses. Each day felt like a war in my mind. Was I crazy for feeling like this, or was my gut right? I had to talk to him again. I couldn't let this distance win. I wanted the connection we once had back, no matter what it took. The thought of losing him pushed me to act. I had to try one more time. So the next evening, I gathered my courage. I found James sitting on the couch, scrolling on his phone. "Can we talk?" I said. He looked up, surprised. "About what?" he asked, but I could see the irritation in his eyes. "About us. I can't keep pretending everything is okay," I said, my voice steady. He put down his phone, and for a second I thought I saw a flicker of concern, but then he just sighed. "Look, I just need space. You're making this harder." His words hit me like a slap. "Space? You mean you want to drift even further apart?" I shot back, anger rising. "I'm here, fighting for us, and you're just giving up." He rolled his eyes. "You're being dramatic. Just chill." That was it. My heart raced, and I felt a mix of anger and pain. "Chill? You think this is a joke?" "I'm losing you," I yelled, frustration boiling over. He shrugged again, and that's when it clicked. This wasn't just about distance. It was about him pushing me away. I could feel the betrayal. He was playing with my heart, and I wouldn't let him anymore. "Fine. If you want to throw this away, then maybe I should too," I said, my voice shaking, but firm. I turned and walked away, knowing I had to protect myself. The door slammed behind me, and a heavy silence filled the air. Betrayal hit me like a punch. How could James, the guy who said he loved me, turn everything upside down so fast? I felt like I was drowning in shock. My heart raced as I thought about all the times he promised me the world. Were they all lies? I replayed our talks over and over, looking for hints I missed. Laughter and sweet words now felt like poison. Why did I trust him? I whispered to myself. My friends tried to help, but their words just floated away. They didn't get how deeply this hurt. I felt like I was in a dark room all alone. Nights were the worst. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, haunted by his smile. What used to make me happy now felt like a cruel joke. I wanted to scream and let out all the pain, but I felt stuck, trapped by my own feelings. This heartache was heavy, making me feel broken like I'd never be whole again. But I knew I had to fight back. I couldn't stay like this forever. I will get my strength back, I told myself. I had to learn to trust again, even if it took a long time. I'd rise up from this mess and find a way to heal. Piece by piece, I'd rebuild my heart. I'd to believe I could do it. "Hey, are you okay?" My friend Mia texted me the next day. "No," I typed back. "James lied to me. I don't know how to move on. Let's hang out." "You need to get out," she replied. I sighed, knowing she was right. "Okay, but it's going to be hard." "Together we can face anything," she said. Meeting Sarah felt like walking into a storm. From the first moment I saw her, I felt a whirlwind of emotions. Sarah was James's childhood friend, confident and stunning, like everything I wished I could be. She made me uneasy. Did she know things about James that I needed to learn? When we finally talked, I wanted to know what she thought about him. "What do you think of James?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Her answer was vague, and for a split second, her eyes flickered with doubt. Was there more to their friendship than she was sharing? My stomach knotted up as I sensed the tension rising between us. I wanted to trust her, but suspicion crept in. Sarah laughed too easily with James, while I felt more alone. It made me doubt everything. Was she tangled in this mess, or was I just imagining it? Every time I met her, it felt like I was on a tightrope, balancing between wanting to be friends and fearing she was my enemy. My heart raced as I tried to figure out what was real. The storm inside me grew louder. Did James need her more than he needed me? I was caught in the middle, desperate for answers in a world that felt more chaotic by the second. As I watched James laugh with Sarah, a fire sparked inside me. Jealousy clawed at my heart, making it race. Their smiles felt like daggers, twisting deeper with every glance. I couldn't understand why it hurt so much. Was I not enough for him? "Hey, don't you think they're too close?" I muttered to my friend, trying to hide the trembling in my voice. "Just chill." "It's not a big deal," she said, but her words barely reached me. Every giggle between them felt like a betrayal. I felt my trust in him fading. My heart sank as I thought about Sarah. Wasn't I funnier, smarter? But there she was, full of confidence, making him laugh. The fear of losing him hung over me like a storm cloud. "Why do you always hang out with her?" I snapped at James later that night. He looked taken aback. "I can hang out with whoever I want," he replied, his voice cold. "Yeah, but why her?" I pressed, my heart pounding. "Because she's nice to me," he shot back, and the words hit like a slap. In that moment, I realized our relationship was off balance. I was pouring my heart out, but all I got was silence. I needed to find my strength, but jealousy weighed me down like a heavy stone. I tried to breathe, to shake off the despair, but it clung to me. Every time I saw them together, I felt like I was sinking. I'd to fight back. I'd to find my worth. "I can't let this consume me," I whispered to myself. But how? The thought of losing him gnawed at me. I need to break free, I decided. I'd to reclaim my heart and find my power again. I'd to find out the truth. So I decided to follow James one afternoon. My heart raced as I stepped outside. He said he needed space, but what did that really mean? I trailed him through the busy streets, feeling a mix of fear and determination. Was I ready for whatever I might discover? I kept my distance, hiding behind trees and cars, my stomach churning. I saw him laughing, his smile bright and carefree. It made me furious. Was he really that happy without me? I felt like I was losing him, and I needed answers. Finally, he stopped at a cafe. My heart raced. Who was he with? I crept closer to the window, squinting to see. There she was, Sarah. They sat too close, their laughter echoing in my ears. Betrayal washed over me, turning my anger into a storm. I wanted to burst in and confront them, but fear held me back. What if I was wrong? Still, something felt off. I couldn't ignore the sight of them together. I turned to leave, my heart heavy. The moment I walked into the cafe, a tight knot formed in my stomach. I was about to face the truth I feared. The place buzzed with laughter, but I felt alone, trapped by my worries. I scanned the room, looking for James and Sarah, the two who filled my mind with doubt. There they were, sitting in a corner, smiling like nothing was wrong. As I moved closer, my heart raced. They looked so comfortable together. It hit me like a punch. I needed to know the truth, but my legs felt heavy, weighed down by doubt. I forced myself to sit with them, hiding the storm inside. "Hey, Lily," James said, his voice bright. But I caught the surprise in his eyes. Sarah turned to me, her smile fading. The air was tense. I'd to break this silence. "James, we need to talk," I said, trying to sound calm. Inside, I was shaking. I needed answers, and I wouldn't leave without them. Betrayal pulsed in my veins. This cafe, once my safe space, now felt like a war zone. Trust was slipping away, and I was desperate to grab it back. "What's up?" James asked, but I could see his smile was forced. "Why are you two so close?" I shot back, my voice steady. Sarah's eyes widened, and I could see her panic. "Lily, it's not what you think," but I couldn't let it go. "Then what's it? Are you two together?" James shifted uncomfortably. "It's complicated," he muttered. "Complicated? Or maybe just a lie?" I pressed, anger bubbling up inside me. I felt like I was on the edge of something terrible, and I needed to know where it would lead. Questions swarmed in my head like angry bees after that fight at the cafe. I felt angry and scared all at once. I'd to find out what James was hiding. Every time he left the house, my stomach twisted. Where was he going? Who was he with? I started watching him closely. I'd follow from a distance, hoping to uncover the truth. He was always on his phone, texting and laughing. My heart pounded. I wanted to think he was just being friendly, but the way he hid his screen sent alarms ringing in my head. I called Sarah, his childhood friend, looking for answers. "Hey, have you seen James lately?" I asked, trying to sound casual. But her pauses spoke volumes. Something was off, and I could feel it. I needed to know more. I asked around, hoping someone would spill the beans. I was desperate for answers, and I wouldn't let my doubts grow. Every second felt like a countdown, pushing me to find out the truth. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. My heart ached, but I'd to keep going. I'd to uncover the lies behind James's charming smile. I knew I'd to face the truth, even if it hurt. Suddenly my phone buzzed. It was a text from Sarah. "I think you should be careful with James." My heart dropped. What did she know? I'd to confront him, but what would I say? Would he lie to me again? The betrayal felt heavy, but I wasn't backing down. I wanted the truth, no matter what it cost. As I watched James laugh with others, my insides twisted like a knot. Each giggle he shared made me feel smaller. I started to wonder, why did he go out without me? My mind raced with dark thoughts. What if he was telling secrets to someone else, someone who saw him differently? The more I watched, the more my heart pounded with fear and jealousy. "Why do you have to leave?" I finally asked one night, my voice shaky. He shrugged, a smile on his face. "Just hanging out with friends." But I couldn't shake the feeling. It felt wrong. I imagined him flirting, his eyes lighting up in a way they never did when he looked at me. It was like I was just a pawn in his game of charm. Days turned into weeks, and the weight of doubt grew heavier. I wanted to believe in us, but my heart whispered, something's not right. I saw the way he laughed too loud, how he leaned a little too close to certain people. It felt like betrayal, and I was drowning in it. "Do you even care about us?" I blurted out one evening, frustration spilling over. "Of course I do," he replied, but his eyes darted away. I couldn't shake off my gut feeling any longer. I'd to face James. My heart pounded as I steeled myself for the confrontation. What if I was wrong? What if I lost him forever? One evening, I took a deep breath and asked, "James, are you seeing someone else?" The words burst out, heavy with worry. He froze for a second, and I thought I saw guilt in his eyes. But then he shot back, "You're just being paranoid. Trust me." His voice was sharp, and my heart sank. His anger felt like a slap. How could he brush off my fears like that? I'd laid my heart bare, and he just pushed me aside. Confusion swirled in my head. I wanted to yell, to make him see how much his words hurt. Instead, I felt trapped in his denial, where my truth clashed with his twisted version of reality. After that talk, I walked away feeling crushed, but I refused to give up. I'd to dig deeper. I wouldn't let his denial silence my instincts. I needed to untangle the lies and find the truth. For my own sake, I was done being quiet. As the storm loomed ahead, I braced myself, but I was also digging deep into James's secrets. Each truth I uncovered felt like a sharp knife twisting in my heart. I saw his hidden motives and the hurt he carried from old relationships. Those scars had turned trust into a fragile thing between us. I started my journey of self-discovery, finding strength I didn't know I had. I defaced the hurt that James had caused. It was like peeling away layers of lies to reveal the truth behind his charming smile. It hurt, but it was necessary. Understanding his past helped me begin to heal. I leaned on my friends, who reminded me of my worth. They were my rock as I fought through the heartbreak. "You deserve better," one of them shouted during one of our late-night talks. Each chat peeled back more layers of who James really was, and I felt anger bubbling up, mixed with a strange sense of relief. The secrets were heavy, but they also opened my eyes. I realized I needed to take control of my story. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about my healing, my growth. The storm was fierce, but I was ready to face it, armed with the truth and newfound strength. "James, I know what you've been hiding." I confronted him one evening, my heart racing. He looked shocked, then defensive. "You don't understand." He snapped back, but I could see the cracks forming in his facade. "I understand enough," I shot back, standing my ground. I wouldn't let him manipulate me anymore. I was done being the pawn in his game. The emotional weight of my relationship with James felt like a heavy backpack I couldn't take off. I was tired, stuck in a loop of heartache. Every time I tried to talk to him, I hoped for honesty, but he just got angry and denied everything. I felt lost, like I was wandering in a fog. I loved him, but his words hurt me, leaving me confused and questioning everything. His promises felt like chains, tying me tighter to him. I wanted to believe he cared, but his actions told a different story. I spent countless nights waiting and worrying, wondering if he was telling the truth. Each late-night text and careless remark chipped away at my spirit. I was scared I was losing myself in all this chaos. I knew I needed to start healing, but the road ahead looked too hard. I'd defined myself again, something I felt slipping away. I craved peace and wanted to feel whole, but James's shadow loomed over me like a weight I couldn't shake off. Desperation pushed me to face the truth. I'd to admit my pain, even if it meant seeing how toxic our relationship really was. I understood that healing would take time, but I was ready to fight for my happiness. I wanted to rise above the mess and breathe freely again, away from the darkness he brought into my life. "James, we need to talk," I shouted one day, my heart racing. His eyes narrowed. "What now?" he snapped, crossing his arms. "I can't keep doing this. You say you love me, but your actions say otherwise," I said, feeling a surge of courage. "You don't understand anything," he shot back, his voice rising. I took a deep breath, standing my ground. "No, I understand too well. I deserve better than this." As I started uncovering James's past, I felt a rush of urgency. I'd to unveil the truth behind his charming smile. It was clear that James carried emotional scars from past loves. His history was a mess of broken trust and toxic relationships. I began to question everything about him. Each day I felt more exposed, worried about what secrets lay hidden beneath his perfect exterior. I dove into his past, searching for clues. I stumbled upon stories of heartbreak and manipulation that left a line of shattered hearts in his wake. James's former relationships seemed to haunt him, whispering tales of betrayal and pain. I realized I wasn't the first to fall for his charm, and I certainly wouldn't be the last. With each new detail I uncovered, my heart felt heavier. Doubt crept in like a shadow, making me feel trapped. What if he's lying to me, I thought. I knew I'd to confront him, but how could I challenge someone who looked so flawless? As I put the pieces together, my need for answers became desperate. I couldn't let myself be trapped in his web of lies. It was time to face James, to expose the truth and protect my heart before it shattered into pieces. "James," I said one evening, my voice steady but my heart racing, "we need to talk." His smile faded, and I could see the surprise in his eyes. "What's wrong?" he asked, trying to play innocent. "I know about your past," I replied, my voice firm. "I won't let you manipulate me." He shifted uncomfortably, and for a moment, the mask slipped. "You don't understand," he said, desperation creeping into his tone. "No, You don't understand, I shot back, my resolve hardening. I'm not just another name on your list. The tension crackled between us, and I knew this was just the beginning of a battle for my heart. I was drowning in confusion. How could I tackle this mess alone? In my panic, I reached out to Sarah. She was James's childhood friend, and she seemed to know him inside and out. I needed someone who understood my pain. Talking to her felt like my only choice. When I met Sarah, my heart pounded. I spilled my fears about James, how his words made me feel tiny and lost. I watched her face twist with concern as I spoke. She listened carefully, and I realized I needed her strength to help me sort through this chaos. "Lily, you deserve better," she said gently. Those words struck me like lightning. I hadn't realized how much I needed to hear that. A tiny spark of hope flickered inside me. Then Sarah told me stories about James that made my stomach turn. I learned he'd a history of twisting the truth and breaking trust. With every shocking detail, I felt a little lighter. I wasn't alone anymore. Talking to Sarah gave me the courage to see the truth about James. I understood that I didn't have to carry this weight by myself. I needed to be strong and regain my power. It was time to act. I felt ready to face the truth about my relationship. Why did I ignore the signs for so long? Those red flags were everywhere, but I looked the other way. James had a way of charming me, making me think things were fine. But inside, I felt the heavy weight of his lies. I wanted to trust him, but doubt nagged at my heart. The truth hit me like a punch. First, I learned about his past, how he'd ruined other relationships and left emotional scars. I felt betrayed, like a fool for believing his sweet words. "I love you," he'd say, but his actions screamed otherwise. With each lie I uncovered, my heart broke a little more. I knew I needed to heal. I couldn't keep spinning in this cycle of pain and confusion. Rebuilding trust felt impossible, but I'd to try. It started when I finally admitted the truth to myself. I'd been manipulated, and I deserved better. I called Sarah, my friend, and she confirmed what I feared. I wasn't alone in this fight. The road ahead would be tough, but a spark of hope ignited inside me. I'd confront James, not just for myself, but for anyone else he might hurt. "Enough is enough," I said aloud. I couldn't stay silent any longer. I wanted to take back my strength and heal. I owed it to myself to break free and start fresh. With determination, I marched to his apartment. My heart raced. "James!" I shouted as I stormed in. He looked up, surprise flashing across his face. "We need to talk." I stood tall, ready to face whatever he threw at me. I wouldn't back down this time. This was my moment to reclaim my life. I felt a rush of energy in my veins. It was time to confront James. I couldn't just burst in without a plan. I needed to think this through. I had to decide what I wanted. This wasn't just about asking questions. I needed answers. I needed to show him I was strong. I took a deep breath. I remembered all the tough stuff I'd already faced. Fear wouldn't stop me this time. I grabbed a notebook and jotted down everything I wanted to say. I wrote about how betrayed I felt, and how his lies made me question everything. It felt like I was losing myself in a relationship filled with deceit. Timing was everything. I picked a quiet evening at home, a place where we usually felt safe. I could see it in my mind, me standing tall while he squirmed as I spoke the truth. I knew the tension would be thick. He might try to twist my words or deny everything. I had to be ready for that. Staying calm was a must. If I lost my cool, he'd use it against me. I practiced in front of the bathroom mirror, saying my lines over and over. I was ready. No more manipulation. This was my chance to take back my voice, to face the man who'd flipped my world upside down. That evening I confronted him. "James, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady. He looked up, confusion flickering in his eyes. "What's going on?" he asked, trying to play innocent. "No more games," I shot back. "I know about the lies. I feel betrayed." I felt the words spill out, powerful and sharp. His face turned pale. "You're overreacting," he replied, but I could see the fear behind his bravado. "I'm not! You've manipulated me for too long! I deserve the truth!" I pressed on, refusing to back down. As the tension mounted, I could feel the weight of our dark romance crashing down around us. He was trapped now, and I was ready to break. Free. What if I could show everyone the truth? The weight of lies pushed down on me, and I knew I'd to do something. My heart raced as I gathered proof about James. I talked to his ex-girlfriends and pieced together a story of lies and manipulation. Each new piece stung, fueling my anger and heartbreak. I realized I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for my strength. Trusting him again felt impossible. He'd shattered my faith like glass. I couldn't just sit back and wait for him to change. I'd to confront him, not just for me, but for all the other women he'd hurt. I made my plan. I'd expose him in front of Sarah and anyone else who needed to know. On the day I confronted him, my stomach twisted with nerves. Fear mixed with determination. When I stood in front of James, I saw shock in his eyes. "You think you can keep lying?" I shouted, laying out the truth. Each word cut through the silence. His confident smile vanished, revealing the weak man who needed me to feel strong. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was taking back my power. I felt lighter with every word. The road ahead would be hard, but I was ready to rebuild my trust in myself, and maybe one day in others. As I stood there, my heart racing from the fight, I knew I couldn't tackle this alone. I felt lost, like I was sinking in a storm of lies and confusion. In times like this, I realized how important my support system was. Friends, family, even people I barely knew. They helped me pick up the broken pieces of my heart. I called Sarah. She'd become my rock. Her straight talk about James hit me like a splash of cold water. I needed someone who got my pain, who could see my hurt. With every chat, I grew stronger. I realized asking for help didn't mean I was weak. It meant I was smart. Whenever the weight of it all got too heavy, I'd reach out to a friend. They listened, gave me advice, and reminded me I wasn't battling this alone. Each time I opened up about my fears, I felt lighter, like the sun breaking through clouds. I learned that showing my true feelings made me brave. As I prepared to face James, the support from my friends felt like armor. I could almost hear their cheers pushing me forward. I understood then that love wasn't just about sweet words. It was about having people who stood with you when things got tough. In the middle of the chaos, I started to reclaim who I was, powered by the love around me. I refused to let James's betrayal define me. Instead, I chose to rise, surrounded by the strength of those who truly cared. And that made all the difference. The wounds from my breakup with James were still stinging, but I knew I'd to start healing. I took a deep breath and told myself, I can do this. Moving forward meant facing tough changes, even if they hurt. I needed to build my strength and remember that I deserved better.